Hey, I'm Rodrigo. I'm the People Operations Manager here at Strikepoint Media. Today we are sitting down with Brent, our Creative Director. Great conversation. We dive right into what it means to draw out the message from a client in a way that really does produce results from a design standpoint. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe so that you get all the notifications on when our new content comes out. All right, let's jump right in. Hey, I am here with Brent, the Creative Director here at Strikepoint Media. And Brent, it's interesting, I think about you, and it kind of brings to light the interesting and wonderful things that can happen at a company. You know, oftentimes you're working with people, but then those working relationships really bleed into being, friend relationships and more meaningful beyond just the workplace. And specifically for you, like I've been here close to 3 years, and very quickly we became really good friends to the point to where you're going to be one of the groomsmen in my wedding coming up. So
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, so this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I have noticed in that time how incredibly talented you are and the level of excellence that you bring to the whole creative process here at Strikepoint. And you made a comment earlier today about specifically the title of Creative Director, how it can mean a couple of different things, depending on the context where you're at. I would love to hear from you specifically here at Strikepoint. What does that mean for you, like the role that you fit here at Strikepoint?
Yeah, I think the best way to put it is my role is really about creating the most successful designers and creatives possible. It's setting them up for success in lots of different ways when it comes to their process and how they approach a design. When it comes to the way that they understand what the client needs and what the client wants and what's the outcome, what's the big picture of this campaign. It's synthesizing design principle into the actual work itself and creating more effective collateral and deliverables for our clients. So really it's about teeing them up and setting them up for success.
I love that. So I love the fact that you put an emphasis on team, because I think that is really a thing that has made you and Strikepoint so successful. The fact that you're wanting to build and make the best out of the talent that we have. There's an old proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And it seems like you've really focused on basically taking the talents and skills that you've developed in your expertise and in the amount of years that you've been working in this industry and really bringing that out in other people. Absolutely. And also stoking the talents that they specifically bring here.
100%.
So if you're talking about team development, like what have been the one or two things that have been really important for you in doing that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that have kind of put like a good healthy fear in me is that we've got truly amazing creatives. And these designers surpass my knowledge in so many ways. We've got an incredible video and motionographer here, for example. I don't want to get in his way. I want to make sure that I'm creating a path for him to grow. And so a lot of it too is kind of stepping out of the way and figuring out how to fan that flame and how to champion them the best way possible.
Yeah, I love that. So it's basically seeing how you can be the best person to set them up for success. I love the fact that you've mentioned that. And I also love the fact that you talk about how other people have skills that you don't have, or maybe have an emphasis in something that you don't have. Because that really, when you're talking about leadership, that is so essential, because we can't fit every role that a client or a project needs, and it shows such humility to say like, hey, Anthony is so much better at this than me, so I'm really gonna get behind him and really stoke that flame in him.
That's so true.
Yeah. So I'm curious to hear from you, like walk me through, like let's say we begin a new relationship with a given client, and you are brought in to bring the direction to the creative process of that client. What is the first thing that you do? Like you're meeting the client, you're going through those initial conversations. How do you approach that process? Like what's going through your head? What are the questions that you ask yourself and them?
Absolutely. I think that one of the most important parts of that process is the client comes to us expecting us to walk them through a process that they can understand. It's a lot of times a client will come to an agency and they sit down and immediately they're confused. We're tossing out jargon and marketing jargon that they don't understand yet. So a lot of times it's setting the table. It's saying, this is what we're gonna do. And we actually created a deck that we walk new clients through that really give them bite-sized bits of the information we need from them, the information they're going to need from us. It reminds us to ask the right questions out of the gate. You know, how do you define success? I think that's probably the most important question we could ask when first sitting down with a client is, how do you define success? For one client, it might be sales. For the next client, it might be their brand awareness and brand authority. Maybe they already have sales, but their brand is really lacking. So success might mean something for them than another client. And so I think understanding how they define it first helps us understand how we can facilitate that.
I love that. You know, it's interesting, you bring up something that oftentimes can be overlooked, and that's the fact that this whole process for everyone involved can feel a little intimidating. Yeah, you know, like we work with a lot of companies that are emerging, you know, that are just wanting to grow and scale. That is a scary thing. You know, and so being able to have a process that is, you know, replicable, repeatable, and scalable and profitable to help them understand what we need from them is so crucial.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah. So maybe let's back up a little bit. I would love to hear just a little bit about your story. You know, you've had a very interesting path to get to where you are today. Tell me a little bit about your history.
Yeah, I first fell in love with design. I was actually traveling as a humanitarian worker. I was in China, and we had just given a village full of 90 lepers baths and haircuts. And I wanted so desperately to share with my friends and family the experience I just had. And I couldn't communicate it with just words and static pictures. I wanted to explore what would a different font do to the story? What would different images do to the story? So that I can help share my experience. And that's really what it's all about. It's sharing experiences. If you want to sell a product, you're going to share the experience of how amazing that product is. And you're going to make that offer as irresistible as possible because you believe in that experience and you want to share that experience. And so starting as a humanitarian worker, really frustrated with Times New Roman and static images using Microsoft Word and Pages, I started to explore the relationships between different fonts and images and layouts. That's kind of how I got my start. That fast forward a few years brought me to Florida. I went to college for design. Got my first job in Florida as well for a supplement company, creating these labels for these different organic supplements. To becoming senior creative for a really amazing agency in Orlando as well, to then starting my own firm, to then moving out here and working with Strikepoint.
Yeah, you seem to have a thing for the coasts. You know,
I do. Yes.
Going straight from from Florida over here. Yeah, you know, that's awesome. Yeah, water seems to be a friend to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you brought something up that I think is one is incredibly interesting, and two I really think is your superpower. Which is you talked about like wanting to create this message and communicate something that you've seen, that you see the importance of it, you see how meaningful it is, and you want that to translate. You know, you want them to have a fraction of the experience that you're having. And so you absolutely went to town on all the details. And you know, it's interesting, like if marketing does its job, like at its best, the person doesn't know they're being marketed to. Right? You know, it just feels like it's part of the conversation. And there are things that are happening in the way that they're taking in information that make it easier for them to take that information, and they have no idea all that went on behind the scenes. And I've really seen from you how the little details add up. You know, it's like little things end up becoming this huge impact. And that's something I've really seen in you in regards to how you really work with the design or the creative of a given project.
A lot of times it's a matter of, it's kind of an order of operation in terms of how people receive information. A lot of times people receive it emotionally first and then intellectually second. And so you're right, these little cues and little design tactics that we implement to really strengthen the brand and make it seem more official, make it look and feel more official, even if it's a new company. Giving the impression that it's founded and it's grounded and it's not this new startup that's kind of like chasing whims, but it's a company that knows their product well, knows the quality of it, and believes in it and wants to back it up.
Yeah, I love that. So it's almost like you're communicating what the client doesn't even know they needs to be communicated on their behalf. Here's a question that I have. You know, so obviously as a creative director, you oftentimes have to, there's things that are, given out tasks to, designers and they're off doing the work, and then it has to come back to you, and you have to like kind of provide your input on, what's good, what's not, what needs to be changed, what doesn't need to be changed. And there are so many times that I have been, happen to be in the room when that's going on, and a design pulls up, and I have no idea. Like for me, it's like, product A, B, or C, or like example A, B, or C, like all look good to me,
Right.
But obviously you have a very, very different set of skills to where you can see, okay, no. This one, example B is really, really gonna go hone in on what the client needs, and they need to tweak it in this kind of way. Walk me through that. Like what do you look for? What stands out to you to know that one thing is better than the other?
I think the biggest thing is clarity of message. I think that a message is communicated both with words and with visuals. And so I first try to delineate, okay, what is the clearest message here? Out of these options, what says the message the loudest, the strongest, the clearest, the most consistently? I start there. And then we work on design. Design's secondary. Messaging is always primary. That's always the primary goal.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, so, but obviously that takes a set of skills that you have, that I'm really glad that you have, because Strikepoint definitely needs that. So walk me through, in the last years that you've been here at Strikepoint, maybe give me an example of a design or a company or campaign that you worked on that just, if you were to give, you had 30 seconds left in your life and you had to give someone an example of like what displayed your best work, what would that be?
Wow, that's a really hard question to answer.
Like asking you like which one of your children's is your favorite?
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. You end up being pretty involved with these designs, with these campaigns. I would probably have to say we created a really user-friendly, beautiful website for a local community clinic up the road, Laguna Beach Community Clinic. And we created their branding, we created their website. And one of the most important things to them was easeability of use, clarity in messaging. They wanted to make sure that every user that went on that site could easily find where to go and how to get help. And not only did we do that for them, but the client themselves felt proud of their brand. They felt proud of their website. And I personally love it when a client can actually feel pride in what we did for them, what we created for them, and they could attach their identity to it. And it's a piece of them. It's an extension of them as well.
Yeah.
And so we've created lots of very successful campaigns that have generated lots of revenue. And those are I would love to chat about those too. But I would say one of my favorites was Laguna Beach Community Clinic, just because of just how successful it was all around.
Yeah, that actually brings something up that has been a point of conversation on a couple different levels. And that's the fact that we work with so many brands that are kind of all over the country and different facets and stuff. And oftentimes, like with the level of success, level of impact, and level of revenue that we do, oftentimes I hear Jeremy talk about how like someone, they're at a dinner party or something and he's telling them what they do and he's like, well, where are you? Like, how come I've never heard of you, And I love the fact that, you have played such a pivotal role of like branding our brand, by branding other people here in the community, and I can't wait to see, with the work that you did for them, that's just going to equal them talking to their friends and other local businesses and really kind of, bringing about more work.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, because you're right. A brand really is the culmination of your customers and what your customers say about you. It's not necessarily what you say about yourself. And so our hope is that we've helped our clients substantially to where they'll tell their friends about their experience with us and how we help their businesses grow. And that really is what makes up the Strikepoint brand.
I love that. Yeah, so you've been talking about team a lot, especially initially. Walk me through your team. Tell me a little bit about the people that work with you, that you bear some kind of responsibility for. Like, tell me a little bit about them.
First of all, they're much smarter than I am. They're very intelligent. We've got Erica, and she is our production specialist, our lead production specialist. She can do anything. You literally give her anything and she can get it done. She can code out an email. She can code out an entire site.
Yeah.
She can build an app. She can design. She's a juggernaut designer. She is a lot of our new Strikepoint brand rollout was her brainchild. It's what she had in her mind that we're able to kind of bring to life. So Erica is an all-star in pretty much every area of design. And what we do here, she really fills a lot of holes in what we do. Amanda, she was my very first hire when I first joined Strikepoint back in 2017. And she's now our senior designer. And she is the most consistent designer I've ever worked with. She is consistently hardworking, consistently meeting deadlines. I don't know if she ever, I don't know if she even takes a vacation. Like the girl just works and works and works. She's so reliable. And it's in this day and age, it's really hard to find reliable creatives, unfortunately. A lot of times as creatives, we're so stuck in our head that it's hard for us to kind of put our emotions aside and get the job done. And Amanda can do that in spades, which is really refreshing.
Yeah.
Then we've got Anthony. I mentioned Anthony earlier. The guy is the best at what he does. I have never worked with another video ad producer like Anthony. He came out of the gate and was getting 500,000 plus impressions on his stuff. So he's extremely impressive, extremely dynamic. His processes are extremely efficient as well. And so I'm really looking forward to building out his team because he's created a boilerplate that is extremely scalable. And so those are the few that we have right now on our roster. We've got Michael as well. Michael is one of our newest designers that we just hired. I think he might have been hired maybe 6 months ago. And Michael is a sponge. He is so full of potential and talent and raw talent. And so a guy like him can really do whatever he wants to do. He can take his career wherever he wants to take it, and he's gonna be extremely successful no matter what, because he has zero ego and he's got this tremendous hunger to learn and grow. So I'm really excited about Michael too.
Yeah, I love it's been fun watching you brag about your people, just because we have so many people here at Strikepoint that just bring so much to the table, and they are such like balls of potential, just because they're here, they're young, they're hungry, and they're ready to work. So tell me a little bit specifically about some of them. I even think of, like, for example, Erica, like the image that came to my mind for her is, it's like if you were to be stranded on a digital desert island, she's the one that you want with you,
Absolutely.
Tell me, maybe pick one or two of them, and it's like, when you talk about like their future and helping them grow and helping them develop into who they're created to be, from a creative standpoint. What are some of the things that you hope for them? What are some of the things that you're wanting to invest in them in?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the most important things that a creative needs to learn in their career is that hard work trumps talent. You can be extremely talented, but if you don't have work ethic, if you're not willing to push yourself day in and day out, it's amazing how quickly this day and age you can become very dispensable. Extremely talented people can instantly become dispensable if they don't have work ethic. And so I think that continuing to show up day in and day out, and really work at your craft. You don't have to be the most talented, but you'll go farther. You go much farther. So I think that's probably a really important principle that our designers have caught on to already, that is already proven to be beneficial with their work and their career. They're all growing. I promoted all 3 of them in the last 6 months. All 3 of them were promoted. And so I would say hard work and work ethic, hard work, showing up day in and day out is probably a really underrated virtue of a designer.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about work ethic. Reminded of, I forget who said the quote, but it's some major writer, has written a gazillion books that we've all read or had to read in school or whatever, and he had the quote, he says, "I only write when I'm inspired, and I make sure that I'm inspired every morning at 8 a.m. And so it's like that work ethic is true. So speaking about inspiration, I would love to hear from you. What inspires you? Like, what gets you out of bed? Like, what absolutely helps you grow as a person, as a designer? Like, where do you get your inspiration?
Yeah, that's a great question. Every morning, and I've been doing this for probably almost a decade, every morning I set my bar. I go online, I go on Dribble, I go on Behance, and I look at designers that are much better than me every single day without fail. Monday through Friday. Sometimes on the weekend, but usually Monday through Friday. And I set an impossible bar for myself. I look at designers who are doing things that I can't do yet. And I start there. I start by setting my bar. Because it's so easy as a creative to get stuck in the mundane, the routine of cranking out work that you know you can do with your eyes closed, you can do it in your sleep, and it's really easy to get comfortable and to not set your bar higher, because if you don't set it higher, you're not gonna reach higher. You're not gonna strive to be better. And so I think that one of the most important things really is to not settle and not get comfortable with your work.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, Brent, it has been an absolute pleasure to sit and chat with you. I cannot wait for this next year. I know there's so many things that are in store for you and for us as a company, and for the specific contribution that you're going to give. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Of course, thank you.